Hi, this is Kelly, and I'm going to tell you another story. I'm sitting outside with my son while he's swimming. He's 11 years old. And the other day, while we were doing this, he said to me, "Mom, do you know how they have videos that are inspirational about weight loss?" And I said, "Yeah, buddy, I know." And he said, "I want to do a video about inspirational weight gain. I want to tell my story about gaining weight." And I thought, that's a wonderful idea, buddy. And he's very clever. He's extremely intelligent. And I thought that I would tell the story about my pregnancy and his birth. He had a very unique gestational period and birth as well. In 2009, my husband and I were finally able to conceive only after taking fertility medication, Clomid. After many years, we were unsuccessful at having a child. At the point that we did conceive, we were not married. On the day of September 19th, 2009, we looked at a restaurant venue and attended my niece's first birthday party. And I was just prior to 24 weeks gestation at the time. We never planned on having a big wedding. We wanted to have a small wedding in a restaurant with like a buffet or a banquet room, and just have immediate family there. We never wanted to have a big extravagant wedding because we believe that the marriage is what you should focus on rather than the wedding. However, later on that evening, after we had gone to the restaurant and we had gone to my niece's birthday party, my water broke. I felt a gush of fluid, and remember, I wasn't even 6 months pregnant at the time, and 24 weeks is the age of viability typically. So I called the hospital, and they said, "You probably just peed yourself, but come in and get checked anyway." Now, up to that point, I have had more than one episode of severe bleeding. Each time we thought that we had lost him, and but ultrasounds and all of the tests that they did showed that he was in fact still there. And he's an inspiration just to go through those things up to the 23 weeks and some odd days gestation period. So when I went to the hospital, they confirmed that my water had broken, and they kept me in a delivery room that night. The next day, a doctor had come in, and he was very forthright with the odds that we had. We had a 50% chance of him surviving. And of that 50% chance, there was another 50% chance that he would be born with severe birth defects, such as cerebral palsy or deafness or blindness. So they kept me in that delivery room for 24 hours, and I still had not had a contraction. I was not allowed out of bed. I had to stay in bed for the whole 24 hours. After that, they moved me into a maternity room, and I still had no contractions. They monitored me very closely. I was able to get up and use the restroom, and that was it. The rest of the time, I was to remain in bed. My husband came, and he was by my side, and for the first few days, I was very upset. And then I really can't explain it. After a few days, I just refused to believe the statistics, and a feeling came over me that everything was going to be okay. So, after a few days had passed, my husband brought me some things from home to occupy my time. My mother in law had bought me some fleece, and I made a baby blanket for my son. My husband had also brought me some paint and some Christmas ornaments, and I painted. I made Christmas ornaments. I did whatever I could to occupy my mind and keep my stress level as low as possible. The hospital provided me with a laptop computer, so I had access to Facebook and to to be able to communicate with friends and family. But I asked that no visitors come because I was so fearful of getting any sort of an infection of any type, any kind of cold or flu. I needed to stay as healthy as possible to keep my son as healthy as possible. Uh, since we were planning a wedding, on October 3rd, a friend of ours named Michael drove several hours to the hospital, and in a wheelchair, I went to the hospital chapel. It was the month of October, so it was Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and everywhere was draped in pink tulle and other pink decorations. It was as if the hospital was decorated for my wedding. Um, the nurses had got us a platter of cookies that had pink M&Ms in them. They made punch for us. The nurses were just wonderful. They came and spent time with me, talking to me, even when they didn't have to be there to check my vital signs or to monitor the baby. They knew that my mental health was just as important as my physical health at that point. So on October 3rd, I got married, still no contractions. So I waited for 68 days. It was now November 26th, Thanksgiving Day. I still had not had any contractions at that point. I had uh, followed a treatment regimen uh, that was designed by a Dr. Kasambi, who is the head of the high-risk pregnancy department at the hospital. I'd received 2 doses of steroids injected into me to help develop my son's lungs. Uh, so November 26, 2009, I had just finished eating my lunch, which was a Thanksgiving lunch, and I got off the phone with my husband. He was getting ready to go to work, and the umbilical cord prolapsed. I wasn't sure what this was, but I was in the bathroom, and I pulled the cord with the little red box around it for emergency help, and within seconds, my room filled with hospital staff. Just so happened that Dr. Kasambi was right outside my room at the nurse's station, and so was the doctor who was the head of the NICU department. A nurse, I think she was a nurse midwife, climbed into my bed with me and checked me to make sure that it was the cord that had prolapsed, and it was. So she began yelling for the nurses to give her a pair of gloves, and she got a pair of gloves. She applied pressure to the cord to try to keep it from being bent in any way that would stop providing oxygen to my son. And they unlocked the wheels on my bed, and we went about 100 miles an hour with the the nurse midwife, or I'm not sure what her title was. Patty was her name. Uh, Between my legs, while I tried to call my husband repeatedly to come to the hospital, and we rushed to the operating room. And they put up a drape just under my chin where I couldn't see anything, and they gave me medication to knock me out. And the last thing that I remember is Dr. Kasambi yelling at the nurses to be quiet, that he couldn't hear the baby's heartbeat. When I woke up in the recovery room, my husband was there. They, excuse me, they allowed him in the recovery room with me, and he told me that we had a son. He was 4 pounds, 11 ounces, and 17 inches long. At that point, they had him on oxygen. He had been placed in the NICU, and he was approximately 33 weeks and 3 days gestation at birth. But he was a fighter. He spent about 16 days in the NICU. He had some difficulty maintaining his body temperature. So we couldn't bring him home until he was able to do that. He also did not want to eat. It took a lot of encouragement to get him to eat. So he went from 4 pounds, 11 ounces on November 26th, and 17 inches long, and by Easter time, he looked like Boss Hogg. He had recovered from his small stature and turned into a chubby little fella. All of his hair fell out on top, his baby hair, and he only had hair around the sides and back of his head, and he was very, very cute. And now he is 11 years old. He has made it on a honor roll, I think 3 times this year. He's very smart, very strong, and he's now nearly 150 pounds. He's probably a little bit bigger than what most 11-year-olds are, but that is his motivational message about his weight gain story, that he went from 4 pounds, 11 ounces to almost 150 pounds. I probably have never got that out of my mind about trying to get him to eat. And his size is probably my fault, partially, but not only my fault. I share the responsibility with others. But he is healthy, and he is happy, and he is smart and strong and funny and clever, quick-witted. And most people that have met him will never forget him. And despite all of the grim statistics and odds that told me that he wouldn't survive, not only did he survive, but he is thriving. He's just an amazing boy, and I hope this message reaches some parents who are in a similar circumstance, and that this message provides hope and reassurance that even though it's a tough road, it's really hard to stay in bed in one room for 68 days, no matter how tired you get. But it's a tough road, but just try to keep yourself calm, that it is possible to have a healthy baby, even though the statistics may offer grim news. That message isn't for everyone. And I have living proof of that right in front of me, swimming in his swimming pool right now. I hope you enjoyed this message. I've tried to share it with everyone that I meet that might have an interest at all, because I just think his story is very important, and anyone that hears it, I hope that they could share that message of hope with others. So if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. And as always, thank you for watching. Bye.